Welcome to another edition of Bowie TV's Sports Spotlight. During this hour, we're bringing you highlights from some of our shows focused on all things sports in the DMV. Please be sure to give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. First on Pitt Sports Zone, Bowie State softball head coach Powell discusses the Alumni Softball Clinic. On Legacy Maker Sports, Richmond Spiders sports broadcaster Robert Fish joins the show to discuss life, sports, and more. Then on Ravens Verdict, check out the sights, sounds, and press conferences from inside the start of training camp. Lastly, on Washington Commanders Update, hear the insights on day one of training camp from Candy Waller on All Burgundy and Gold Everything. Don't go anywhere, and as always, enjoy this week's episode of Bowie TV's Sports Spotlight.
What's going on, family? I am back. Welcome to Pitt Sports Zone. As you know, we are all things HBCU. Today we have a little twist. Today's a different show, but of course it's always going to be HBCU related. Today we have, of course, returning and forever guest of P Square, Pitts and Powell, the Coach Powell, Bowie State University softball head coach, and then of course we got my guy Marcus. I met Marcus when I was a freshman at Bowie State in 2000. And Marcus is a part of the biggest, the best, the baddest tailgate squad, period, but Bowie State University tailgate squad. What's going on with you guys, fellas?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for that. Thank you for that intro. We will take it. You know, if somebody wants to take the crown, we're getting older, they can take it.
Now,
we can't do it forever.
A lot of people. So now to my audience, I've been running this my intro now for probably a year and a half. So now when you guys see me in the end with the homies and you see the tailgate squad on it, Marcus is a representation of the tailgate squad.
Right, man. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been a while. We like making athletic programs better starts with media coverage. It starts with the fan experience, and starts with coaching. So just having everybody here in one place, kind of talking about sports, trying to make Bowie better, man. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely, and Marcus is an athlete himself. He ain't tell y'all that.
Yeah. Back in the day, I played football for Bowie from '99 to 2002. Also, inducted Athletic Hall of Fame 2017.
Oh, hey Marcus, I got a question for you.
Sure.
I want to see if you remember this. Freshman year, I don't know if Bowie State still does this, but I don't remember if it was Spirit Week or whatever. But there was a week where the underclassmen, the freshmen, would play the upperclassmen in a football game. You remember that?
I do. That was one, and then they long ago in 2000 they used to have a high school day. That was probably the biggest practice of the year, where everybody wear their high school jerseys.
Oh, wow.
And like, heck, sometimes you can call your high school. Some people had their whole uniform and everything, man. It was a thing. Sometimes, there's no JV in college, so you gotta, if you're a freshman and you want to play, you're gonna have to play against a grown up real fast.
Absolutely. And Coach Powell.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Last time we talked, we were getting ready for the CIAA tournament championship week. We haven't spoke or had a show since then, and didn't go in the favor that we're used to. But I think when you're spoiled with success, that's what a lot of the fans do. They don't remember that this is 3 years of running. Since then, how have you been?
Yeah, man. So thanks for having me again. Thanks for bringing Marcus, man. That's big. Hall of Famer. Thanks for being around, man. I appreciate you and all you do for Bowie State athletics, especially for softball. Get back to your question, Terrence. Yeah, man. So I had a chance to lick my wounds. You know what I mean? So to lick my wounds and come back, and it's in the past. We don't lose, we just learn. So I did some learning, and we ready to get it back out there and roll the ball out there, and and see what happens. So, get back, like I was telling you earlier, get back to our winning ways.
Absolutely. Marcus, let me ask you a question, because I think I can take this in a way I didn't really intend to, but I just want to highlight the athletics of Bowie State. And with you being a former athlete, Can you talk about the dramatic, the changes that you've seen in the program over the years to the facilities for the athletics, and more things that could be done to help elevate that athletic experience?
Oh man, how much time do we have? We can do the good, bad, and the ugly. I do think that. Well, I'll start off good, man. Just it's a good feeling. I think people take it for granted that 15, 20 years after you leave, the place looks better than when you got here.
Mm.
To see new buildings, to see training staffs and things that I think my kind of era was kind of the first where we had trainers and people were washing clothes for people and
Hmm.
things of that nature. But with those facilities, I mean, scholarship is the thing. Like if we want to get there, and Bowie does a whole lot with a little.
Yeah,
One compared to
Yeah.
like tuition practice compared to other schools in the CIAA. They may say the dollars are similar, but education in the state of Maryland isn't cheap. So to
yeah.
make those scholarship dollars go as far as possible, I mean, it's been like that since I played. That the coaches, the alumni association, they got to do more for athletics.
Can you take us through the inception of the tailgate squad? You know, I heard, I did hear Gene and Teese, shout out to Gene and Teese,
Hmm.
Cole and the guys. I heard them, talk about it on the BSU breakdown, right? If you can, just give a little background of how the tailgate squad got started for the viewers and listeners.
So it started with collaborating. I mean, I know you had Tisa on the first time, and then Cole Campbell, he was tailgating probably even before they had like a tailgate lot. As soon as he left school, he got a cooler, pulled out a grill, and was tailgating. I think that's how a lot of groups are. Is you and then some people. With TC, it was group people said, "Hey, you don't have to do this by yourself."
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of a thing at Bowie. Everybody loved the baby, but one loved him separately. So that
Yeah.
that that's how we started joining up. So I would
Like
say
that.
Cole and TC really getting together, and a couple other guys saying, "Hey man, y'all ain't got to do all this stuff yourself. We can bring something next year." And
Yeah.
it built. I mean, we've been doing it for over 15 years. I think when people see that, it kind of get overwhelming or whatever. But a lot of you see a lot of younger people in their late 20s, early 30s, kind of same way we started out. Look, man, we just had a cooler,
Right.
the little $50 grill from Home Depot you can get, and that's all you got. I mean, you don't have to be, you don't have to be extravagant. I think people get caught up in the social media and YouTube about, roasting pigs and doing the hibachi and all of that, man. Look,
Mhm.
it's all about the people at the end of the day. You
Yeah.
getting up with your buddies and fellowshipping, man.
I love that because if you haven't been, um, the tailgate squad puts on a phenomenal experience, whether it's the food,
Mhm.
um, the drink in the cup, the hand rule, the DJ. And the best thing about it all is that they're all alumni coming to get back.
Mhm.
Everybody that's a part of it have attended Bowie State, and it shows you the love that they have for the university. And to be commended for, man, because it's something that I think if it would have been dope for us to have, back in the 2000s.
Mhm.
But I don't regret those days either, because we still had fun in a way that it was a different experience for us.
Right, and I do want to bring that up because I know there are people that when they hear this, they're gonna say, well, "Wait a minute, we were out there," but like
Right.
consolidating things, and one of the big things that changed at Bowie was kind of putting tailgating in one singular place. Because in the past it was, a person that popped the trunk here, somebody on the other side of campus, so
Hmm.
people were there. But
Right.
once we were actually very a part of the process of putting the tailgate lot together. One, it was just a safety. There's safety reasons on campus. For one,
Absolutely.
for we do that, it's a dry campus, and then community. People kind of one of the biggest things people can do now is like I know one place I can go. You don't have to be with us, but you kind of know like this is if you talk to somebody on campus now, look, the old school people be behind the gym. They know where to go.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And and then on top of that, so something that you said, definitely not taken away from the fraternities and sororities, because they have always done things, on campus. But when it comes from a clamor to the bigger scheme of just tailgate squad. Bowie State tailgate squad is the
Right.
best in the first.
One, I will never do that because I am a member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Inc. and came from Bowie. So that is a
Yeah,
part that is a huge part of my Bowie experience. But not everybody has that. Some people, even there are people who are in fraternities and sororities that are like, hey man, I just want to hang out with my friends. That's cool. I can get a hamburger and a hot dog on the plot, but I don't
right.
want to beg for my homies or my roommates or my suite
Yeah,
mates to get anything. And that's kind of how we grew. People were if you are somebody that graduated, you kind of go to the game, you take a picture by the Bowie sign, and after that, you kind of figuring out what to do. And I think
yeah,
we became that home for so many people. Of heck, even the people who didn't know who we were, it's kind of like, oh yeah, I've been over there. Just because that's kind of if I want to see my friends and we want to kind of hang out for a couple hours, reminisce. This is that area. Period. Like I said, the new tailgating area has been where to go.
absolutely, absolutely. And shout out to Teese for joining in. So one of the things, or the reason why it was definitely important to bring you guys on, is because an alumni game that has been put on by the softball team over the years, and it's a call for all alumni. And I think in the past, it kind of can be a little conflicting or confusing, where people will think that, oh, it's just for the softball team or alumni softball. But on August the 28th, Bowie State softball will be hosting at the Bowie Bay Sox Stadium, or the Chesapeake Bay Sox Stadium, excuse me. They will be hosting their Bowie State celebrity versus alumni softball game. And I thought this would be a great opportunity to really connect Coach with you guys, and to kind of help bridge that partnership, because you guys, when I say you guys, the Tailgate Squad
Hmm.
has a following of alumni, whether they graduated, with
Hmm.
us, or if they graduated after,
Right.
So it was one of those things where I felt like it made sense to try to get the best of what Bowie State has to offer, and to really show our support to the athletic programs, especially when our athletic programs have been consistently, shedding us in good light,
Hmm.
such as the softball team. So hence is today, and I wanted to kind of throw that back at Coach. And Coach, if you could just share a little bit about the Bowie State alumni softball game, celebrities versus Bowie State alumni at the Bay Sox Stadium.
Yeah, thanks, Terrence. Thank you, Marcus, again.
Hmm.
So actually, it was a brainchild of mine for a couple of years ago. I'm really kind of partnered with Prince George's Park and Planning, and they wanted us to do a clinic, and they offered the stadium for us to do the clinic. And so, with the offering of the stadium, I was like, okay, what can we do, to enhance the activity? So we, kind of partner with a local celebrities, couple of former NFL, a few NBA players, and so we kind of put a game together, and we invited, and we invited the community, and then it kind of grew from there. Really, I think Marcus mentioned it earlier that we've been doing a whole lot less. We've been doing a whole lot more with less. You know what I mean? And so we kind of decided that we were going to make it into a softball fundraiser, right? So we can kind of really take advantage of some of the resources that that doesn't necessarily have to come out of our budget, that we can be successful. So the event now has kind of blossomed into, we invited the Bowie State band, the cheerleaders, the celebrity, and really my vision is it's not an alumni, like Terrence said, it's not an alumni softball. Like it reads, to try to separate it, but it's a Bowie State alumni family and friends event. So we want as many people to come out to enjoy, Bowie State, and all what we have to offer, you know what I mean, and enjoy each other. So it's a really good event. I think, we try to have a good time. We want as many alumni, Bowie State alumni that want to participate in the game, as many of people that want to participate. I know The former baseball players have participated. Football players have participated. Some basketball players. So we're looking for even people that novelists that you didn't have to play a sport, but you want to participate. You can do that. So we want many alumni, many family, friends to come out and enjoy it at the Chesapeake Bay Sox.
So, and I think, and thank you for that, Coach. So it goes back to saying, what are some ways that, we can assist to really help spread the word. And, this was step one because we are a month and a day away, or actually a month today.
Yep.
Right? Because it's on the 28th, on Friday, a month today from the event. And I'm sure, the link and everything else as far as registration, we can start disseminating that, putting out on social media.
Yep.
And again, one of the things that I talked with T-Swift Marcus was, I thought that this would be a great opportunity to kind of branch.
Hey, everybody. Once again, glad to have you all here for episode 208 of One-on-One here in season 7. And I got my man with me today. I'm very, very excited to have the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Robert Fish. Rob, how you doing, man? Once again, we're just so glad to have you on the show. How you doing today?
I appreciate it, Darrell. I'm doing all right. I see that based on that introduction, you have received the check. So that's good.
Yeah, the check is cleared. So I do appreciate that. Yes, but the money was nice, sir. The money was nice. But yes, once again, glad to have you on, and just can't wait to get in just a little deep dive on your career and just talk about how you got to this point in your career as we speak. With that being said, we got to start the show off the way we start every show off, and that's with the check-in. All right, so Rob, I got to start everything off with the check-in. The check-in is just to check in on you. How life with you, your family, your friends, how is life right now for Robert Fish?
Things are good. It's summertime, so things are quiet. We've had some time to relax. Things are going along well. My son's doing his thing at Virginia Tech as a rising junior, so he's an engineering major. My wife's good. We've got our health. That's the main thing. I'd say everything is, really good right now, and we're looking forward to, continuing with this good summer time and relaxation before, as you know, everything kicks up here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very busy times coming up here in the next couple of weeks, and I know you're ready to get things rocking and rolling. The break is always nice. But it's right. Like, once you get back into the sports juices, it just everything just kind of rolls from there.
That's true. The break is good. And you do like that lull, but also at the same time, when you like what you do, like we do, and you do what we do, you want to keep doing it and you want to get back to it. So, we're ready to kind of get back into things here, at least in a little bit, not tomorrow, but maybe in a couple of weeks or so.
Exactly. It's so funny because you say that you get into a mode. You're so busy. You're always running, you the next event is on your mind. And then when you know that it's getting close to the end of that time frame, you're like, all right, I'm ready for this break. And then the break happens and you're like, kind of miss it a little bit. I kind of miss it a little bit. So, but don't worry, we won't be missing it for so much longer. We got a lot of sporting events coming our way really, really soon. Now, I want to kind of dig a little bit into your passion of sports. I want to know, when you were 7, 8, 9 years old, what made Robert Fish fall in love with sports? What made you, or who made you fall in love with sports?
That's a really good question. I guess, I'd have to say my dad had a lot to do with it, because in that time at 6 and 7, when I can remember, we would go to sporting events. We'd go see the Braves when they came to town, when they first started, way back in the 60s, in the mid 60s, and we'd go to games there. He would take me to Richmond football games because he was a Richmond Spider back in his collegiate days, and did play a small bit of football at Richmond in his early days. So that was his thing. And I guess he got me started in it, and of course I started playing baseball at a young age. So I would say I'd have to give him most of the credit. And then once I got going with it, it was just something that I really was attracted to quite a bit. I get in the yard and play. And, when I was growing up, we didn't have video games. You had to do your own thing. A lot of times I'd be by myself. So I'd be out playing my own game with my own bat, my own ball, my own basketball, my own football. And not only that, but I would also kind of be announcing the game as I went along. So that's probably where all that came from, watching only one game. You only saw one per week. Wasn't on every night.
You didn't get your choice.
That was it. Kurt Gowdy started it. Joe Garziola after that with baseball, and then, football and all those things. So I think it probably starting with my dad, because he would sit and watch games and take us to games as well. So that's probably where it starts.
It's funny that you say the commentary. It's so funny. Like, I remember being in the backyard with one of my best friends, and we would play football. We would sit there, and I remember calling the game in my head as it was going on, and it would just be it was so much fun. I didn't realize how much fun it was doing it, at that time frame, or maybe watching the game on TV and then recording you, just to see what you sound like as you're calling the game. There's so many great memories of doing it when I was younger. That's a really, really cool memory. I remember doing that. I remember doing that myself.
Yeah, and I got a tape recorder when I was young, and I just started doing the same thing there with TV, but I didn't at the time think it would pan out to be doing what I would be doing.
Mm-hmm.
I just did it because I like doing it. It wasn't like, well, I'm going to be this when I get older. That didn't occur until a little bit later, but that was not in my mind at that time. I was just doing it because it's something I like to do. And I guess it just, evolved into something else a little bit later on. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. I just love knowing, sometimes when it calls your name, you kind of run into it. And so it's a beautiful thing. I think, I first started, I wanted to be a chef. I don't know why.
Yeah, right.
I was like, I want to learn how to cook. Now I look at it, I'm like, no, I don't want that problems.
My thing was veterinarian. That's what I thought I was going to do, until I found out that I needed, in addition to 4 years, 4 more years and all the other things. And I didn't do well in chemistry. So at that, but biology was great. Chemistry, no chance.
I said, maybe it's not meant to be.
We're not going to be doing that. That's not going to work out. So that's the way that went. But
that's awesome. Now let's talk a little bit about, I want to talk about your career. I want to take you from the point, when you in college, heading all into where you are now, your time with the Richmond Braves. I want to kind of know all of it. I want to know how to, take us on that journey from that point in high school through college up until now.
Well, when I got out of high school, I went to the University of Richmond to start with. And my intention was to, continue to play baseball, which I did in high school. And I had talked about, it was Richmond. There were a couple other schools in the state that I thought about going to. And I asked my high school coach, can I play at Richmond, or should I go to, Washington and Lee?
Mm-hmm.
And Washington and Lee was journalism, and Richmond had journalism. So at that time I had decided that I was going to major in journalism, more so, from the writing standpoint. Nowadays you do it all, but then it was, you do newspaper writing or you're broadcasting. So that's how that started, at least in that regard. And, he told me, well, you'll play right away at Washington Lee. You might play at Richmond, but you have to wait a while. So I decided to go to UR because that's where my dad went. And, I had Randolph-Macon was another option, but I didn't want to major in English. Ironically enough, what I do now is my full-time job. I am an English teacher. Go figure that.
Right.
But, so to make a long story longer, I decided to go to Richmond. I got involved with their college radio station. The sports director of that radio station at the time was Yuki Washington, who played basketball at Richmond and has been on the Philadelphia station, Channel 3, I think it is,
mm-hmm.
KYW, maybe the call letters, for about 30 years doing the nightly news. So he got me started, and we would do games from Marsh Hall, which is the dorm next to Pitt Field.
Mm-hmm.
we were looking out. There was no press box like there is now. There were hardly any stands. But we were looking out. We were in the hallway using a phone from someone's room.
Oh, man.
And broadcasting out of the hallway window to do the games on the College Station, the ones that we did. So that's kind of how I got started. As time evolved through Richmond, I would make it through the fall and get to that last cut, and I wouldn't make it past that, so I decided to transfer. I went out to the University of Evansville. They had a full-fledged broadcasting curriculum, so I majored in the TV sequence, which they had their own studio on campus, which back then, that was kind of a big deal. You didn't have those things. Now it's everywhere, but you didn't have it back then. So they had their own TV studio. We did our own things through that. And so, I learned a lot doing that, got involved with the College Station, did some broadcasting there. And, again, did some baseball games, but I got to do football as well and girls basketball with that College Station. So there were a lot more opportunities. So that got me started. After college was over, I kind of came back to my hometown, which is West Point, where I grew up. Did a little bit of work for the Tidewater Review, the local paper, writing small stories, taking pictures. And I should go back to high school, because in high school, I started writing articles on the football and basketball games.
Mm-hmm.
I would have notes taken, and I'd write the article after the game was over. It's a weekly paper, so they had to be in by Thursday or Wednesday, and then they would put it in. So I did some of that too, while also playing. Didn't write any for baseball, but I did basketball. I didn't play basketball, but I did play football. And so sports was just something I was really into. But I really wanted to do the broadcasting part. I didn't really know how to go about it. I landed a job in Kilmarnock. A guy by the name of Dean Loudy.
Kilmarnock. There you go.
Radio station down there. I worked like 2 or 3 nights a week in air shift. And he got me really going. Before that job, though, in 1984, I worked at WHAP in Hopewell. Midnight to 6, country music DJ.
Ooh.
We do
Midnight
I did
to
Hopewell
6.
basketball, did the color commentary with Dick Harmon, who did the play-by-play. Dick's a longtime sportscaster in the area. That was doing those games on the side. So I did games with him. I lasted there for about 6 months. Left that job, latched on with Dean Loudy part-time later. And then if you want to call it the big break, I guess, I got a job in Culpeper, Virginia, doing Culpeper football, basketball, and an air shift with it. You had to do an air shift back then. You couldn't just do sports by itself. So I did country music on HAP. This was more contemporary on this AM station, but also got to do football and basketball. And I used to pattern my opens, the recorded opens, after what Virginia did. When you put the music bed down, you do a long intro, you play a cut, you say the game's coming up next, that kind of thing. And so I got to know Warren Swain, who was Virginia's radio announcer, who passed away a couple weeks ago. Just learned that news. I got to know him through that job. I got a chance to go do baseball, which is really what I wanted to do. While I was working in Culpeper, I went up to I went up to a Mets Expos exhibition game, rather.
Expo
in RFK.
Yeah.
It was April 4th. Back then, the season didn't start in March, and it was snowing. And I sat up atop RFK with a tape recorder, and I did like 5 innings into a tape recorder because I really wanted to do baseball. And This was a game where, Sid Fernandez was pitching. I got a pregame with Davey Johnson. So I just fired that tape out. I went to the winter meetings twice to try to get a baseball job. Never worked out. And I got a response from a team in Hampton. And so I was at Culpeper a year and a half or so, went to Hampton, did baseball with them. That organization was kind of a mess. but I did get to do all the games, and took that job. Went to Burlington, North Carolina, off of that one because the team in Hampton had gotten sold and they made some changes, and they didn't want to put the money in the radio. So after that, come back to Warren Swain and Virginia. During the baseball season in Burlington, I'd gotten, ironically enough, my mom had seen an ad in the paper that Virginia was, or WINA, was looking for someone to do this, and this. Assistant sports director, women's basketball, pregame, postgame, sideline for football, all that. So I called Warren because I had talked to him before. And he said, well, get something in the mail. So I overnighted a tape.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing I know, he called me back like the next day. I didn't even go there to interview for the job. He said, we want you to come up and start.
Can't beat that.
Like, can I finish the baseball season first? No, because we're playing Notre Dame in the kickoff classic August 28th, and I need you there for that.
Say less. Okay. I guess
So
I'm going to
that
go
lasted
to
about, sorry guys, got to go. And I didn't like doing that, but that's kind of how that went.
Yeah.
And so I told myself when that happened, I said, I won't go. I love doing baseball, but I'm not going to go back unless I can, just do baseball and not have to do sales and all the other things.
Right.
So I was at Virginia for 6 years. Things changed there. And I started working down here with Gary Hess part-time at VNN.
Start off thanking the fans. Unbelievable atmosphere for our players to be able to practice in front of this type of environment. Special thanks to the University of Maryland, all of our operations people, Sashi Brown, Steve for having the vision to do this particularly once all that stuff, the realignment happened. I think it's great for us. It's great for our fans, and it was a good day overall. So we know we're 4 days in. We're going into an off day. Players will have some time the rest of the day and tomorrow to obviously recover and learn and improve, and then we'll be back at it in pads on Monday. So we look forward to that.
Jesse, Tyler Loop at the end, can you explain the situation and what happened?
Yeah, just just a kick with something on the line, something between us and the players. I think it was 50 push-ups if he would have missed. So it was, again, try to do stuff like that. There's people here. There's something on the line. It's hard to create those type of environments. So it's good to see him knock it through.
How long was it?
It was 43-yarder. Yeah.
Jesse, just to go back to the fans, what can you say about, I guess, the turnout today, and I guess, do you feel the energy outside of Baltimore and the excitement around this year?
Yeah, definitely. I think we got the best fan base in the world, and for us to be able to take the show on the road, and still have like all these people show up, it's really cool. It's, again, for the young players especially towards the end, like, it's the closest thing we can do to simulate what it's going to be like a couple weeks from now when we're in a preseason game. So again, definitely love our fan base and much appreciation for them coming out.
When there is an environment like this where you have a little bit more buzz, did you feel like the players responded with the urgency you wanted to see?
Yeah, for the most part, I think it was interesting because the layout of the week, it was actually a recovery plan for a few guys. And also just a lot of our key players, not as many reps at the second half of practice. I really wanted just to give the young guys an opportunity to like play football. No coaches out there, like you're playing football in front of fans. It's a little louder, there's a little more chaos. Again, to be able to simulate that in a practice is really cool. It's all about like our foundation, and that means a lot of things. It means how we operate, our mindset, schematically. So it's a 4-day foundation for us. We threw a lot at them, I think, in all three phases, especially on offense and defense. So there's been really good retention. There's been really good execution for the most part. There's still a ton of things to clean up, but I like where we're at 4 days in. It's where we're at, and it's like. Look at today, that's exactly where we are. Now we know what we got to build on.
Jesse, we saw Keon Martin get the interception today. Looks like he's had a really good start to the camp. What have you seen from him, and why do you feel like he's been able to kind of make the plays that he's made?
Yeah, he's a competitor. He studies the game. He's in the right spot. He's sticky in coverage. So he's had a really good couple days. He had a really good day yesterday down in the red zone. Another good day today. It's all you want, man, is for guys to put it out there, put who they are on tape every day. The consistency you love when you start to stack days like that, that it goes a long way with some of the older guys. And so much credit to him.
Jesse, with Derrick Henry having a rest day today, Adam Randall got a lot of run time out there. He's got a guy that's flashed so far. What's been your impression of the rookie so far in camp?
I think you said it, like the word flash is there. There's plays in the run game, plays in the pass game. He's got a good skill set. Again, like, all the young guys, man, it's like you're 4 days in, you're not overreacting to one practice or one play. You're just trying to build their consistency. And so keep chasing that consistency, but it's always great, man, when those guys flash and are able to make some plays. It only helps their confidence.
Oh, man, shouts out to the fans, man. Really was surprised by how many people came out for a practice. It was dope. It was a dope experience. Love Flock Nation, man. Love all the supporters. Let's bring it over to preseason games as well.
Yeah, so you were very excited, I know, with Tyler hitting that field goal at the end. What's kind of your confidence level? He had a tough, rough end in last season. What's kind of that confidence level?
Oh, man, last year, he was a rookie. Things happen. Like I said, he was a rookie. I was a rookie at one time, things happened that didn't go my way that I wanted to go my way, and it didn't happen. So it is what it is, but I know he got a lot of motivation in himself, and we got all the trust and belief in him as well.
Mark, did you get to have any words with Maryland's quarterback in the league, Boston? If so, what do you guys think?
No, I haven't yet. Not yet.
Did you see any tape from there or anything?
Nah, I haven't. But I heard he's pretty good.
And Mark, this is the first time you guys have ever practiced here. How cool is it to be in this atmosphere and be able to come down to this area?
I haven't been in college in 9 years. It felt like I was in college again. It was a dope experience, like I said, and man, shout out to Flock Nation, because they showed a lot of love and support. It's very great to see. I feel like my guys are hungry. You know, a lot of us, you know, was here last year, and we didn't like how the season ended. We didn't like how the season was going throughout the season. I feel like guys are hungry, like I said, they're ready to play. They're ready to show off their talents. Oh man, this guy, he's different. He's different. Long arms, strong hands. I'm gonna say he's a physical receiver, but I like to evaluate my players when the pads get on. When we playing in games, practice, anybody can look good in practice, but I feel like he'll be looking good in games as well.
Lamar, you've been working a lot more on the center.
Yeah.
In this camp. How is your comfort level with that, and do you prefer that to the pistol?
I'm extremely comfortable with it. You know, in youth football, I was under center. Haven't been under center since youth football. Well, consistently under center. We did it here and there in the past, but with this balanced type of offense, I feel like it'll help us out a lot. Identifying defense, really keeping defense on their toes.
Lamar, with 4 rookie pass catchers, 2 good receivers, is there any extra dialogue from you with those guys as they're learning to get on the same page as you see the field the same way you do?
Oh yeah, I tell them lock in. You're in the NFL now. We're not in college anymore, so it's next man up mentality.
Lamar, you obviously have chemistry with Zay Flowers.
Yep.
Why do you think that's developed so well the way it has in its first few years together?
I think I said this probably some days ago. Like, Zay's a guy that's hungry. His work ethic, it makes my job a lot easier. You know, he wants the ball in his hands. He want to make things happen. He want to put his team in position to win. So all I got to do is just give him the ball. That's all. That's why our chemistry is so strong.
There are 2 more plays. Declan has talked about cadence.
Yeah.
That is important.
Yeah, it's true.
How much has that changed for you, and how good are you at it right now?
It hasn't changed that much. You know, different terminology, but it does help us out on offense.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with adding Jayhawk is just the versatility and the knowledge that he brings to the room. I think if you look at his tape, he pops off the tape. And I think just to be able to learn from a guy like him, and just like, thank you. I think just to be able to learn from a guy like him and be able to, you know, just pick up on his process, how he does things, it's been a great addition for everybody.
Malachi, going into year 2, you go into the second defensive scheme. What do you think is the difference when you adjust?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about the scheme is just go make plays. You know, really trust yourself, trust the defense, and just fly around and have fun. I think the defense as a whole is building a connection that we didn't have before, and I think that's what we're striving towards.
What's the energy been like today, obviously? A little bit different than out knowing the fans in attendance here. What was it like to have the fans out here, and especially down outside of Baltimore, closer to the DMV area?
Yeah, I think it was pretty cool. I haven't been to College Stadium in a little bit. I mean, some people haven't been in a long time, but it's been a while. But it was fun. You know, we got the best fans in the world. So just to come out here and be able to practice in front of them, and they have a great facility. So for them to just be able to host us has been special. Yeah, I think the steps is just, you know, being myself. Not being hesitant. I think last year I was really just learning a lot all at once, so I was kind of hesitant, but just flying around having fun. And my biggest thing is attacking the football. You know, that's the most important thing on the football field. So any chance I can get to attack the ball, I think I'm going to take it. Yeah, I mean, Kyle's the best safety in the league, and he will be for a long time. But I think just to have a guy like him to be able to lean on and talk to, and just be able to watch, you know, just like his footwork, his movements, his thought process, you know, sit beside him in meetings has been really huge for my development.
It seems a decent amount of change under Jesse Winter without disparaging the last steps, but anything that's been like kind of a pleasant surprise about the defense and the way things have run with this new group and the staff?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just Jesse talks about, you know, being the best when our best is needed, and I think that's implemented during like our lifts, our walkthroughs, our meetings. So I think just the connection that we're all building and striving to be on the same page, because we all want the same thing at the end of the year.
We saw those like end of practice games throughout the camp. Does that manifest in other ways, like meeting rooms and workouts where he's having you guys do your best and your best?
Yeah, I think it just builds a competitive nature. You're able to go compete, and it's not always serious, but you're always to go out there, compete, and have fun, and it builds connection at the end of the day. You know, when you compete against each other and you give your best, I think you build a tight bond there.
Yo, this is what we got. Yeah, this is what we got on tap for tonight. We'll chat with Bowie TV Commanders reporter Candy Waller, who joined us to talk about day one of training camp and all the theatrics, all the incidents, all the drop balls, all the centers being hurt early, 7-on-7 drills looking good, guys who catching punts. It is all today, all happening day one. And it started off with Dan Quinn talking about the competition and how competition is going to move on this Washington Commanders team in this press conference this morning. Candy, when you walked out there this morning, Dan even talked about how it's different, the air was different, right? How the energy is different, how things felt different. Mm-hmm. This morning for training camp, early this morning, was it different? Mm-hmm. Was the air different? Could you feel the energy, electricity? As Gorilla Monsoon would say back in the day, you could cut it with a knife.
It didn't feel like 8 a.m. And really, 7. You know, when folks start coming out, their players 7:30 a.m. I mean, this is early, you all, because Dan Quinn's press conference is at 8 a.m. Okay. Players really start coming out right around 7:45, 7:50 a.m., right? And they're still coming out. It's a period of time where they're coming out there. But they were ready to roll around 8:15 or so, honestly. I mean, we'll give it like 8:20, 8:30, you know, but they're out there, they're getting, you know, they're stretching, they're getting ready before they do the group stretch. But it did not feel like it was that early in the morning. Does that make sense? You know how like you feel like it's like, oh God, like it's so early. That's not what the vibe. It didn't feel like that. It felt like this is practice. Like, let's go, right? That's exactly what it felt like. I want to mention already, like one of the things that Dan Quinn was talking about is everyone being in crazy shape. Remember, that was one of the things that I was talking about. What do they look like? Did they stick to their regimens during this off season, during this time period? Did they continue to work on their craft? And these guys are in crazy shape. Some of them look very different. And so they were ready to rock and roll for sure. Energy was up. I tweeted about that. Energy, intensity, very high.
You know, and that's what thing, because especially talk about shape. Sam Cosby had dropped 8 pounds and lost 3% of body fat. A lot of these guys. He also talked about the young center, maybe the young guard, right guard,
Josh Connerly.
Josh Connolly, how Josh Connolly body has changed, how Josh Connolly has changed, walked out and worked with Larry Tunzel throughout the season, all throughout the offseason, and how he has developed and he's grown. So he talked about that as well, because again, he was mentioning how if your body changes and you're in physical shape and you're a specimen, then you should be able to play better, right? And each guy worked on what they needed to work on in order to get the leg up, to be in shape. And I think also I've read between that, Candy, that, you know, if we're in top tier shape, maybe, just maybe, a lot of the injuries that happened last year won't happen this year, because we're in physical shape, we're in better shape, which implied last year that he had to get guys in the football shape instead of guys coming into camp being already in shape. Mm-hmm. And so now guys came into camp top notch. And that seemed like that was a very focused, that we don't have to whoop you in shape. From day one, we're going to get it and we're going to compete. And so here's my question to you. Drills come off. Did you see the competition today from day one?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I saw competition. I mean, that goes back to with that intensity. I saw the intensity. The tempo was up. They did a lot of red zone drills. Mm-hmm. So this is now red zone situational football. You got to score. So the speed was there in every single one of those drills. They mixed people in and out. So it wasn't like the ones and the twos, if that makes sense. They were mixing a lot. They were doing a lot mixing personnel in and out. So, and in some personnel was together. I mean, some personnel groupings were together, but they definitely mixed and matched for sure. You could start to see some of the different personnel groupings that they're working with, which there are several. And that it was that tempo because it was red zone, a lot of red zone, a lot of 2-minute red zone, very quick tempo in and out, gotta score. That's something that Coach Blau has talked about in terms of situational football, right? And so how you score, you need to score, you need to get a touchdown. We're not settling for a field goal. That type of thing is what I was really sensing today. And Coach Quinn had talked about that a bit too in his press conference last night as well as this morning.
So in the red zone situation, who won? My bad. Go ahead, George.
No, it's okay. Go ahead with your question, because then I want to ask sort of a more general question. I want you to focus on this red zone.
We talk about red zone situation. Who won? Defense or offense? Did offense score more times, or did the defense was able to stop?
I mean, I saw several. There were some of my colleagues that said they believed the offense won today. I didn't believe that. I think that the defense did today. I really do, and I'm going to stick to my story. I mean, it was the first 10 minutes were a little rough. The first 10 minutes, you saw me tweet about that. The first 10 minutes, see, here's the thing: energy and intensity can be high, and the execution still be off.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Energy, intensity way up. Execution, different conversation. And I saw a bit of that. And the defense took advantage of it, as they should. Right? And then even as practice went on, the run game was particularly stronger for the offense today. Liked what I saw from the run game. But like in different moments in team drills and 7-on-7, until later on in practice, which you saw some of those toe tap touchdowns and all that was later on in practice. And so I think the defense had the edge today. I really do. Several passes batted down. Odafe Owe had a great day. I continued to see him make plays. And even in 7-on-7, I saw a lot of the DBs. I mean, the quarterbacks had to work through their progressions for certain. So he got better as the practice went on, but it was a rough day to start.
George.
In general, we've talked about what a big year this is and the urgency that we've seen in the front office and how they conducted themselves in the offseason and how the coaching staff has conducted themselves. It sounds like it's translating to the players. When you have players coming back in and they're in a lot better shape, or they're in noticeably different shape, because you mentioned Cosme, or the Cosme's been mentioned. We've all talked about how Bills look bigger, some of these other guys. It feels like that everybody realizes that this is a big prove-it year. And to me, that ties to the Odafe Owe point, because he's got a chance to be the man now, to be the main pass rush guy. And he's been doubted by a lot of people. And a lot of people looked at that contract and were like, I don't know. He's really good, but it's all potential at this point. Does Odafe, and is that where we're kind of seeing the energy too, is that a guy like Odafe Owe is going to be like, I'm going to show y'all that you should have kept me or not let me walk, or whatever he's going to, or that I'm worth every penny that I'm getting paid here.
I mean, 100%. I mean, that's some of what we talked about last night, where these guys could have been on winning teams, but they're not with them now. And so what does that mean? Right, in terms of their role here, are these the ones that emerge into those leaders because they witnessed them in other places, or folks that were already on the roster here that witnessed other leaders on the team in the last couple years? That's what I'm talking about right there. Exactly what you said, George. It's the those who are new that were doubted on other rosters or had a down year and want to bounce back from those down years or had a down moment. So they want to, we've heard Charles Omenihu say in previous press conferences, not necessarily today, but in previous press conferences throughout, May and June, he talked about getting back to some of his, better performance years. and feeling like this is the staff and the scheme that will help him get there. And so, yes, I think 100%. Some of these guys will definitely doubt it. Definitely, their prior teams didn't bat an eye about losing them, to the Commanders or any other team, and they have something to prove for sure.
Let's go to Paul's question real quick before we get off the red zone. Paul asked this question: was Burke's height and strength really highlighted in the red zone today?
Great
Yes.
question, Paul.
I mean, yes. I mean, he can get up. He can get up. He did drop a pass early on. He dropped a pass that he 110% should have caught, and he was not pleased. He was not pleased because, again, this is going back to everybody knows what this means. Everybody knows because he is a player that is still. I mean, he was a former first-round pick.
Correct.
I think wasn't he the person that was the wide receiver that was in the trade with AJ Brown? Remember AJ Brown went to the Eagles? Somebody said, that was the receiver that they thought was going to take AJ Brown place. It's a lot to that backstory, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he is someone, to your point earlier, Georgia, who's trying to prove himself. I think he did great last year. You all know how I feel about him, but to this point of the energy intensity, when he didn't execute, he was upset with himself. Very.
Mm-hmm.
Things got better as the day went on. So yes, you see that height and that strength, but he uses it. He uses it, but you still got to use it to hold on to the football.
Dan Quinn said something else before we get off Dan Quinn too. He said something that I'm gonna read it. Quinn said, competitive practice doesn't always have to be overly physical. Even though the players were in helmets and shorts, they could feel different practice from last year. Which the part I want to talk about is how practice felt different from last year, right? And not because you have different players, right? Candy, you was at a lot of practices last year. Is the practice different? And I know this is day one. Is it because of the coaches, the intensity the coaches bring, or is it because the players are motivated this year because they don't want to go 5-12? You see, last year I would have thought that the team would have came in motivated and not mundane or not content because you lost in the NFC East Championship game. And so you still came in motivated to know how close you were to getting to the Super Bowl. And now is it the motivation this year because it's 5-12? And I don't want to say we pushing the button already, but our guys push the button. They know how important this season is.
See, I want to go back to the top of the press conference though, when Coach Quinn was asked about why that energy and that intensity, why that's there, and he basically what he said was, I mean, I don't know, it's many different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Glenn? I think there's many different reasons, and the hard truth of the matter is they thought they had arrived.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you gave them the Super Bowl. We gonna run it back. You know what I mean? We gonna run it back.
They Jay Uso.
You know what I mean? We gonna run this back. We got JD5. We good. And so you go add a few pieces here and there, and we straight. That's literally, between the run, it wasn't, they thought they had it. So now here you are with the energy and the intensity and the reality. I mean, like you said, there's many different reasons. I mean, yes, I think this is one. I think it's a few. And the difference here being, the energy intensity. You got different people. Not to say that those other individuals did not have weren't as intense or had their energy, but you got to understand the culture. The brotherhood was different, and so. Do you really want to get at JD5? No. Oh, Dr. Aowe don't care. Right. I mean, that's his quarterback, but they don't have, there's something to be said about whether or not, you know what I mean? It's different. He cares. Let me be clear. Like,